Welcome to the Pants of Horse YouTube channel. This is Ward, and today I am kicking off a new segment called Malus Codicium, a lore corner with the channel mascot Aximund. This is where we will discuss different Warhammer and Tacticus lore, and today, in honor of the Farsight reveal and upcoming LRE, I wanted to start with the history and background of the Tau Empire. The Tau Empire has a very famous saying that most people probably know, for the greater good. The Empire is one of the youngest, most technologically advanced, and most ideologically optimistic factions in the entire Warhammer 40k universe. At least on the surface, they stand in contrast to the ancient decaying Imperium, where humans may cling to superstition and tradition. The Tau believe in progress, unity, rationality. Where Space Marines fight for duty, Tau fight for the greater good, an ideology that seeks harmony between all species under a unified vision. But beneath their sleek armor and diplomatic speeches lies a much more complex story. Let's dive in. Let's start with the origins of the Tau, at least as far as the Imperium knows. 10,000 years ago, while the Imperium was drowning in the aftermath of the Horus Heresy, a small human exploration vessel from an Adeptus Mechanicus explorer fleet stumbled upon a primitive tribal species in a sector later called the Tau homeworld. At that time, the Tau were primitive cavemen. They were barely beginning to use fire, divided into constantly warring tribes considered too insignificant to even bother exterminating. The Imperium marked their world for future colonization or potential extermination, then left and promptly forgot. Over the next 10 millennia, the Tau evolved rapidly. As the Tau developed and evolved, they naturally divided into 5 tasks that were so biologically different that they were actually functionally separate subspecies. First, you have the Fire Caste, or the Shas. These are the warriors. They are taller, stronger, more aggressive. They end up piloting battlesuits, and they fight all the ground wars. The Earth Caste, or Theo. These are the builders, engineers, scientists. These are the brains behind the Tau technology. The Water Caste, or Por. These are the diplomats, negotiators, traders, the voice of the Tau Empire. The Air Caste, or Core, are the pilots, starship crews, navigators. They're really adapted to high altitude life, having come from the mountains of the homeworlds. Lastly, you have the Ethereal Caste, or On. These are the spiritual and political leaders. Their presence alone inspires absolute unity and obedience. Each caste reflects a Tau belief. Every individual should serve the role they're best suited for. Now let's take a brief step back into the rise of the Ethereals, because before they even existed in the Tau culture, the Tau had almost wiped themselves out in a series of civil wars known as the Mon Tau, a dark age of chaos and tribal conflict. In Low Gothic, Mon Tau translates to the Terror. Then, seemingly overnight, 2 mysterious figures appeared. These are the first Ethereals, and they brokered peace between the 2 sides that were about to destroy each other. No one really knows where they came from, or what their abilities truly are, but it's said that they possessed an aura of calm authority so powerful that the warlords stopped fighting and listened. At least that's what the official Tau histories state. The Ethereals preach unity, cooperation, and the greater good, a new concept, and the Tau followed them almost immediately. Perhaps it was simply charismatic force of will, or a realization that peace was advantageous to conflict. Or maybe it was due to some ethereal, subtle pheromonal control, advanced psychic influence, or hidden Xenos interference. The truth remains unknown. What matters is that under the Ethereal's guidance, the Tau went from Stone Age tribes to a galactic empire in a mere few thousand years, a blink of an eye. Now, what drives the Tau? What drives the Tau is the greater good, or the Tau Va, the central ideology of the Tau Empire. They believe no individual matters more than the Empire. Every member has value to the Empire, and technology is the path forward. To the Tau, the galaxy is chaotic, irrational, and violent, so they aim to bring logic and cooperation to it. They do offer other species a choice: join the Empire peacefully or be guided towards unity by force. Their diplomacy begins friendly, maybe too friendly. The greater good has no room for dissidence, and mercy is not existent in the 41st millennium. Opponents to the greater good or to Ethereals are seen as mentally deficient and are sent to re-education facilities where they experience regular propaganda psychotherapy. And this is if they're Tau. If they're not Tau, they simply get wiped. And the Tau are very, very good at warfare. Their strategies are built on ranged combat drones, battlesuits, and air superiority. They avoid melee fights, they do not use psychic powers, they rely on precision, mobility, overwhelming firepower, and coordinated teamwork. Their most iconic elements are the battlesuits. The Crisis battlesuits are elite all-purpose suits piloted by the greatest heroes of the Fire cast. The mainstay is the XV8 Crisis battlesuit, which may look a little familiar. The broadside battlesuits tend to be more heavy fire support platforms capable of destroying tanks with ease. The Riptide battlesuits are enormous war machines that essentially push the limits of the Tau engineering, and they use marker lights to make the whole army more accurate, coordinated, and deadly. They're often used to direct drones, secret missiles, and they're coordinated by marksmen or by pathfinders. Now, in contrast to many other 40k factions, the Tau actually do have pretty good relations with at least some other species. They have successfully integrated into their society the Kroot, which are well-known avian mercenaries, the Vespid or insectoid aliens, the Nikasar, which are their psionic navigators, they kind of look like large polar bears, and any human defectors from the Imperium are known as Guavessa. Obviously, not everyone likes the Tau. The Imperium considers their expansion a direct threat, and the homeworlds are adjacent to or even including part of Ultramar itself. There are a few key people in modern Tau history that are important for Tacticus users to know. First one is Commander Shadowsun, who is handpicked by the Ethereals. She is a master of stealth, precision warfare, and rapid deployment. She's one of the greatest generals in the galaxy, despite her Tacticus model being somewhat subpar. Commander Farsight is the leader of the independent Farsight enclaves, technically outside of the Tau expansions. The rumor is that he spent too long away from Ethereal's presence after his Ethereal advisor died, which left him psychically free to choose his own path. He rejects Ethereal rule, and as a result is persona non grata to the Tau. Now, with the upcoming release of Farsight, while I do not think there will be another Tau for quite a while, I thought it would be interesting to come up with a possible Tau unit. What are we missing in Tacticus? I think we're missing the iconic allies of the Tau, the Kroot. There are a number of models to pick from, but I wanted to create something that looks the exact opposite of all of the current tech-forward models that currently exist. Here is my rendition of the Kroot Carnivore, which is based off the Kroot NPC in the Tau campaign event. The Kroot Carnivore would have keywords such as Rapid Assault, Camouflage, and perhaps Kroot, which would provide bonus damage if within 2 hexes of a Tau unit. Melee attack, the Rending Talons, maybe a 3-hit 1-hex range, physical damage. Range attack, using their Kroot Carbine, 2-hit 2-range projectile damage. The passive was a more interesting thought experiment. The Kroot have a tendency to eat the dead, and thought this would be fun to incorporate as genetic feast. After killing a unit, gain X health and do Y increased damage over the next 2 turns. They are also masters of ambush assaults, so the active could be if the unit is not in melee and has not yet moved this turn, gain infiltrate, move up to 2 hexes, and perform a melee attack. You can move through enemy units with this attack. So what do you think? I'd love to hear from the Tau lovers, the Tau haters, your thoughts about my attempt at the Kroot Carnivore. Join me next time as we crack open another page of the Malus Codicium. If you enjoyed this content, please remember to like, subscribe, join us on Discord. If you have a referral code, you can punch in my code, receive some free Blackstone. And remember,